What's good, Not On Dream family? My name is Julian Taliaferro, and I'm coming at y'all with the fourth monthly book analysis. And this one is titled Personal Connections in Economics. So I'm going to just jump right in, and I have five books for this episode. The first one being The New Economics by Dr. Edward Deming. The second book that I want to highlight is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. The third one is StandOut 2.0 by Marcus Buckingham. And then the third book, or fourth book, is Kane and Abel, written by Jeffrey Archer. And then the fifth book is The Richest Man in Babylon, written by George Caslon. So to begin with this first book, The New Economics by Dr. Edward Deming, my main takeaway from this was just how he is trying to, let's say, free people from this current management style that we have currently. So when we think of organizational structures, when we think of management, a lot of times our minds go right to that corporate America, general bureaucratic type corporate structure. But there are a lot of holes in this, and it isn't the most optimal solution. A lot of times there are so many different organizational models or management styles that, let's say, a company could have, and then it's just about finding which one works for what you're trying to solve. And although there are so many, the common theme or baseline between all of these organizational structures to allow them to be successful is just for them to all have cooperation, right? Cooperation between departments, cooperation between business units. So the focus isn't on which department wins, but more so on creating a innovative product or service that your company will offer. And this is one of his main points, really just trying to look at his new management style specifically, that is a contrast from the bureaucratic corporate America structure that is currently, in most business environments. So that was interesting for me. He also talked about some more numerical economic things, with knowing the difference between, let's say, error due to a system versus random error. And it's important to be able to diagnose the problem correctly. That way you can give a right solution to that problem, and you're not giving a solution to a random error when it's really a system error, right? Because that can kind of mess up things in that way. So I feel like it's definitely a book for better understanding. You would probably have to read yourself. Kind of complex in some of his thoughts and theories, but I do think overall it was an interesting read. And like I said, my main takeaways would just be on management styles and organizational structures, and knowing that it doesn't always have to fall in line with that common corporate America type style, and that you could have your own management style and it could still be successful. So that's the first book, The New Economics by Dr. Edward Deming. The second book I want to talk about is How to Win Friends and Influence People, written by Dale Carnegie. And this book was kind of broken down into three sections. The first one being techniques in handling people. The second one being make people like me, or how do you make people like you? And then the third one was how do you change people without resentment? So in each of these sections, it was then broken down a little bit more clear into, more subsections on how do you actually have techniques to handle people? How do you actually get people to like you? So for me, the biggest thing that I took away is just it is very important to remember people's names. Although there are so many different types of lessons in the book, this is probably one of those books that I'm going to have to read over again, maybe two, three times. But overall, my biggest lesson was just to remember people's names, because usually I'm not that good with names. And I know from experience that when you do remember somebody's name, then it does give them more inclination to be more receptive to what you're saying and like you. So that's definitely the biggest one for me. But like I said, so many more different lessons in this book, and the lessons may resonate with you differently, right? If you're watching. So this is definitely a must read, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. The third book is StandOut 2.0, written by Marcus Buckingham. And this is about strengths. So this is about knowing how to lean into your strengths, and that your strengths are precise unto you, and that only you can really utilize what you have. Only you know your makeup and know how you were specifically created and how you can exceed or excel in certain areas. And it's also about helping other people unlock their strengths as well, and that'll allow you to become a better leader. So it was pretty short because the first half is about strengths and things like that, but then the second half talks about or breaks down different types of strengths, and it gives like strengths options, and you can kind of characterize yourself, and it gives tendencies on which type of leader that you may be. So I ended up figuring out, or at least thinking, that my leadership style is like a creator or a pioneer in this book and how it was defined. I may be wrong because I didn't take the assessment or anything, but that's just how I feel. But it's about now that, let's say, I identified myself as that. How do I lean into the strengths of what my personality traits may be? And it's kind of just figuring that out, leaning into it, and then being aware and then analyzing it in other people as well. So that is that book, StandOut 2.0. Takeaways are pretty short, honestly, just about strengths. But now I can get into my fourth book, which is Kane and Abel, written by Jeffrey Archer. This is a novel, and this was a really good book. This is one of the books that I like binge read, like 400 pages, and like one night. It was really that good. And novels really easy to kind of get stuck into the storyline, and it's about two different men who are born on opposite sides of the world in two different types of situations, but their destinies are like intertwined, and they end up both becoming really successful, and you kind of see that play out over time. So that's the overall kind of like storyline, and I have a lot of takeaways from it and just lessons in general from the book. So I'm gonna just read through them. So the first one is hate in your heart is pointless. Also, you can make a change in your life at any point. Third one is leading your life with love is the key to success. The fourth one is like you need at least one right hand man. Um, the fifth one is people are always plotting and planning on your downfall, no matter how good you may be. So you have to kind of watch out for that. And then also, you can't explain something to people who don't want to hear. And then also, pain can be fuel, right? Pain can push you to the extreme limit that can be the fuel or motivation to make you want to become successful as well. So those are kind of my lessons. The number one lesson is just that hate in your heart is pointless. And if you guys read the book, you'll be able to see how that is a big part of the storyline. But there's no need to just carry anger within you, because that then changes your actions, and the anger kind of molds you and the hate molds you into a person that you don't need to be. And then you'll be elderly, 80, 70, looking back on all that time that you spent being angry, all that time that you spent hating something, and you realize that it was all a waste. So that's probably the biggest one. And now I can get into my last book, which is The Richest Man in Babylon. And I don't have this hard copy either, but this was more so just about investment principles and how to structure, let's say, your income that's coming in. So, like, say you get a paycheck, know that you can split it up into, say, okay, let me give 10% and give back. Let me give 10% and put this into a future investment. Let me give 10% and spend this on my bills and things like that. So just knowing how to structure your paycheck or the money that or income that you're receiving. Also, how it's more important to do safe investment and don't really be greedy with your money. That's kind of one of the principles that it says. But let's say you do make a risky investment, you have to just be a man and own up to what you did and find a way to work back from that and continue to implement the right investment principles to enable yourself to recoup your money. And then also how like wealth is a mindset and slave is also a mindset, and you can choose which mindset you want to have, right? So for me, I want to choose the wealth mindset. I don't want to choose a slave mindset. And also, like, work is what brings you to the top. So there was an interesting story in the book where one of the slaves, or he was a slave, and he deliberately chose a job that was hard, right? One that would need him to work, and it just goes to showcase to you that hard work is important, and it's it's more so like a trait and a personality thing. So if you'll be dedicated as a slave to work hard, then you'll be dedicated not as a slave and as a free man, and you'll carry on that work ethic through whatever you need to do. And it's more so a mindset thing, if anything. So uh, that's kind of that book. Just a lot of investment principles. This is a famous book as well that it's on everybody's book list. So definitely a go-to book to read. And that is my recap for my 5 books. And I think I'm good. So to go through the titles again, the first one was The New Economics by Dr. Edward Deming. The second one was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. The third one was StandOut 2.0 by Marcus Buckingham. The fourth one, Kane and Abel by Jeffrey Archer. And the fifth one is The Richest Man in Babylon by George Caslon. So, all right, let's get it, y'all. Going to achieve your 99 dream. And it's 99 dream because you are going to achieve your dream. And it would be 100%, but nothing is perfect. So you can achieve 99% of that. And let's go and let's get it.